Okay, I'm here with Steve Vines, columnist, restaurateur, highly opinionated man, to hear about Hong Kong and patriotism. We have to speak very loudly here because we're in the middle of a Hong Kong street, which is quite noisy. Steve, with the Olympic season upon us, is Hong Kong patriotic about China?
Well, that's the big thing. I mean, that's what people are really trying to sort out. I mean, does patriotism in Hong Kong mean you solely identify with the Chinese mainland, that you identify with its rulers, with the Chinese Communist Party? Does it mean that you identify with Hong Kong's uniqueness? You know, this funny little part of China where you can actually say what you want, you can do all sorts of things. Or maybe being patriotic in Hong Kong simply means you know, you acknowledge its uniqueness and that it is a cosmopolitan city. I mean, they keep talking about Hong Kong as being Asia's world city. Well, if that is so, it's a cosmopolitan city. It isn't a purely Chinese city.
But we're going to see people in Hong Kong cheering when China wins Olympic gold medals, yes?
Yeah, that's the great paradox of Hong Kong. I mean, I think people are genuinely, after all, 98% of the people in Hong Kong are ethnically Chinese, and they're genuinely attached to China, to the whole idea of the emerging Chinese nation. You know, oh boy, we're part of that. I think people like that. But on the other hand, do they really like being part of a one-party state? I mean, I think these are the paradoxes that it's very hard, particularly for the Chinese government, to get its head around, because it's one of those you're either for us or against us type governments.
So what is a prime example of what the government would see as a lack of patriotism by Hong Kong people?
The interesting thing is, the prime example of this is the fact that every year on the anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre, quite literally tens of thousands of people turn out in a memorial. Now, anybody who's been to this memorial will know that it's an intensely Chinese patriotic occasion. People sing patriotic songs, they mourn the people who died during the Tiananmen massacre. It's an intensely Chinese event, but the Chinese Communist Party sees it as a dissident event, something which is dangerous, something which is negative, that Hong Kong shouldn't allow. But to be fair to the Hong Kong authorities, they don't stop it happening.
So what is the mood you would say about Hong Kong in terms of the torch relay, which actually came through Hong Kong following a lot of the controversy around the world? As I remember, there wasn't a lot of protest here.
No, there wasn't a lot of protest here. I mean, there was some kind of stuff on the sidelines with some people trying to raise the Tibetan issue. But by and large, and I've seen some opinion polls that track this, people have become rather more aggressive in their, you know, you mustn't criticize China during the Olympics attitude. But on the other hand, I mean, this is what's strange here. People really feel, you know, China against the world, we must be very careful not to criticize China. But people also really feel, otherwise they go and live there. Oh, thank God we live here. We don't have to, you know, deal with all that stuff that people on the Chinese mainland deal with. So it's a very kind of schizophrenic attitude.
There was also recent controversy, I think, which highlights this issue a little bit, which is the nationalities and the advisors of the government. Can you quickly explain what that is and your take on what that tells us about Hong Kong?
Yeah, I mean, this is my favorite story of the month. I mean, here is the government which says that it's trying to promote democracy in Hong Kong by appointing a new strata of these mini ministers who are going to be assistant ministers and under ministers. And it turns out that the overwhelming majority of them have slipped in their back pockets foreign passports. These people who are going to be the new political leaders of Hong Kong have so much confidence in the Chinese Communist Party that they feel they need a French passport or a Canadian passport or even, goddamn it, a British passport in their back pocket. I mean, this to me is very amusing, because of course that's what middle class Hong Kong has. An enormous number of middle class people in Hong Kong have foreign passports, not because they want to go and live in any of these places, but because they recognize the inherent instability of one-party states, and they feel, quite rightly, that if they can get an insurance policy that allows them an out, they're going to take it. So here you have a typical representative of this strata of people, and they kind of somehow bizarrely thought, shows you how much political education they have, that they would get away with it, nobody would comment on it. They were wrong, big time wrong.
So in other words, Hong Kong is both a Chinese patriotic place, but also a dissident place. Is there a way we can characterize what this phenomenon is, or is it just a mixture of patriotism and lack of patriotism?
Well, I think the wonderful thing about Hong Kong is it is so unusual. I mean, I can't think of practically any other society, I'm sure somebody cleverer can, where until about 1.5 or 2 decades ago, the majority of people were immigrants. I mean, most societies just aren't like that. The majority of people are always either, if they are immigrants, they're distant immigrants, they're 3rd, 4th generation immigrants. In Hong Kong, the majority of people were not born in Hong Kong, they were born in mainland China. And that has an enormous influence on how Hong Kong has developed, because these are people who know that if things get bad, they can get up and go. And they got up and went from mainland China to Hong Kong. And in the back of the residual folk memory is the idea that if anything goes wrong again, they can get up and go somewhere else. But that doesn't mean they're not proud of China. That doesn't mean that they don't see themselves as Chinese. It means that experience has taught them to be cagey people who, you know, who take precautions.
So proud of China, but ready to break camp.
Ready to break camp, and also, you know, there's a kind of savviness, and I think this is true of all immigrant communities. There's a kind of savviness in Hong Kong that says, well, you know, we can be proud of China, but that doesn't mean we put all our eggs in that basket. I think that's kind of rather wonderful, actually.
Okay. So pride with all of the eggs in one basket.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I mean, if China was more relaxed, I mean, I know it's hard to talk about a relaxed Chinese Communist Party, but if the Chinese Communist Party was more relaxed, they'd say, my goodness, we've got this little, what do you call it, clique of people in Hong Kong. After all, we're only talking about 7 million people in a population of 1.3 billion. We've got these 7 million savvy people living in Hong Kong who in fact choose to stay there. They haven't left. They choose to stay there because they think things are fine. That's actually quite a big plus for China, but somehow they don't see it like that. They say, what's their game? Why, you know, why have they got foreign passports? Why aren't they entirely loyal? Can we really trust them? I mean, that's a very sad reflection, but it's a typical reflection of a one-party state, because one-party states assume that everybody should think alike.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much.